Today we're going to look at the Y3000. This is a no specific brand camera. Allegedly one of the smallest cameras in the world, although we'll dispute that. As you can see, it's pretty titchy. It's SLR styled. It's got a sort of fake lens. The sensor sits right up the front, but the interesting thing is this just under an inch wide LCD, which is actually quite cool. You can see the side controls for toggle, which we'll talk about later. And underneath there's a slot for a micro SD card and micro USB. There's the on-off switch, which doubles as a shutter, and we'll turn it on, and as you can see it splashes up. Actually, this is Vivitar loading, although I don't think Vivitar would have any claims to this in any form. There's your LCD panel, and it's not really showing up particularly well. A blue light appears on the front of the camera over the pentaprism hub, which lets you know the camera's on, as well as the LCD. Pressing the button for taking a shot will cause it to go off temporarily. I mentioned the toggle switches earlier. In stills mode, they allow you to move between 5 different colour settings. There's the normal standard, a black and white version, sepia, a blue and a green, as well as an inverted or negative version. In still mode, pressing the bottom button lets you cycle through these colours. The top button lets you change camera mode. When you go from movie and then into play mode, at that point, both the top and button are active, allowing you to move between shot images and videos. To come out of that, you simply hold down the top button for a period of time to move back to play mode. Holding the shutter button down turns the camera off, and this can be a bit irritating sometimes when you're taking photographs, as it's relatively easy to do. The camera comes in a pretty simplistic box. You're provided with a slightly too small wristband strap and a metal keyring. It's a very simplistic manual. The manual, unfortunately, doesn't detail anything about how to set the time on the camera. Plug your camera in with a memory card in it. You'll be able to navigate to the camera, which is shown as a drive on your computer, your USB drive J. Here we have the photos and video folders, but also this little file called set time. This has the timestamp, which you can alter. The timestamp shown here is what the camera will take as the initial timestamp as soon as you turn the camera on. So you can reset this to push the camera timestamp round to your actual time. It will remember this moving forward, so you don't need to adjust it again. But there's a Y at the end of this. Switching the Y to an N will turn off the date stamp. This is something I missed, and I'm grateful to Panda Prague's review in Medium for picking that up for me. But unfortunately, from the point of this review, it's not in it. The first mention of the Y3000 was back in 2011. I was able to find a review by TechMoan at that point, which I've put in the notes. But it features another camera, this one, which is very similar, but has a slightly different shape and control setup. It has just a 2 megapixel sensor and only shoots HD ready video. This does make me think that it's probably still the same sensor being used here. As we'll see from the video quality, everything suggests interpolation. The original Y3000 seems to be very close, if not based off a camera sold by Japanese company JTT called the Chobi Cam 1. This had a much higher price tag, but came with additional equipment such as swappable lenses, and also had a lower VGA level video quality. Whilst I wasn't impressed with the VGA level quality video from the original Chobi, I did think TechMoan's review of the Y3000 in its original HD ready format was much better, and it's notable it's better quality than the video you're about to see. I think, from my point of view, it would suggest that it's possibly just the same sensor being used, but it's been interpolated and compressed quite badly on the new model. I don't know for certain, but that's my suspicion. Let's move on to some video tests.
So, this is video test footage using the
Y3000 on a slow pan. This is good light conditions, although it's just, as always happens, clouds just come over the sun. I'm going to pan round towards the sun just to get the effect of that. And that's our slow pan. It is actually recording at HD quality, although as you can probably see the video quality is not great, and I do think it probably represents interpolation quite heavily. The exposure, I suppose, is not bad. That's about as best as I can say, but you'll notice quite marked stretching and distortion on the video. Take a look at the red car. That's a VW Beetle whose bonnet looks nothing like that. For comparison, let's look at some footage shot on a Google Pixel. This 4K capable 2022 smartphone can be considered kind of mid-range by today's standards. Just to illustrate against the Y3000, I'm taking this footage at HD quality rather than the full native 4K that the camera can do, but just to give you a real world comparison. And that real world comparison is really telling. There's a huge image quality difference here, and although I wouldn't suggest the Google Pixel 7 is the best in class or anything, at least it gives us a reasonable reference. I would never have expected the Y3000 to approach it, but it shows you just how much far behind it stands. Let's move on and do a more low light test taken at dusk. I've turned the audio off for this as I don't think it adds anything, and then we'll move on to look at some stills. So you might be left thinking, I'd be hating this camera, but in fact it's quite a lot of fun. Image quality is awful. Can't get beyond that, but if you like the lo-fi thing, it's quite good fun. You can find them for somewhere between about £10 and £20. I would not pay any more, and I would hunt around to get yourself the best deal. And as long as you measure your expectations, it's a little bit of fun. It is probably one of the smallest handable cameras with an LCD, I would give it that, but there's tons of little spy and miniature cameras that go beyond it in size, although they're much more dubious. But it's a little bit of fun. I think it's probably, if lo-fi is your thing, it might be worth a few quid to be spent on to have a bit of a laugh, although there are way better cameras with better image quality. Thanks for watching. A fuller review from a camera potential will be on the Cami Cameras website in due course at austerityphoto.co.uk. Take care. Bye.